okay, and that's totally expected. But I have my friend here. I'm going to have her introduce herself and just like give a little bit of background behind what she does for work, what she studied and majored in. She's a phenomenal lady with a wealth of information. So you guys are super lucky to have her here today. So go ahead, girl.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Dana. I'm an exercise physiologist, which I have my master's degree in sports conditioning and performance. But more than that is I've been helping athletes for like more than 20 years. So I've been at this for a while. All sorts of athletes, from ball sports to Ironman winners and stuff like that. So lots of experience with this fun population. I worked in the corporate world for a lot of years, and then like almost 2 years ago, I jumped ship from there and like have my own little place. I really could not see myself, so I have no idea what this looks like. But and I'm able to help athletes in the way that like I want to, without somebody telling me what I need to do. So it's been so much fun. I did a workshop last Wednesday, and the kids that I call pretty much everyone kids, the runners there were like asking me some stuff about VO2 versus lactate, because I do lactate testing and I don't do VO2 testing, but I did at my corporate job. And I'm like, yeah, but what do you do with those results? Like, now that I can use my own brain, I'm like, dude, I do lactate testing. I know exactly what you can do to like implement with this results versus those. You got that. And you're like, okay, cool. But like, what do I do with this? You know? So I love being able to like do what I can do to actually like give results to help people. It's awesome. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here with you.
20 years, and you still coach like pretty religiously, and you do all sorts of testing still currently to this date. And I've been honestly fortunate and lucky to do your lactate test. And you guys, if you have never done a lactate test, like hands down, I'm a big believer. It will change your training. Absolutely. Like I feel like it is like refined my training. It's helped be able to figure out where my weaknesses were, where to focus, and just stay in zone on your training. So yeah, she has so much information. I'm excited to just dive into this topic. But yeah, so just kind of starting, we have a lot of people that have just been asking, like, just what are some summer basic tips that like you recommend that would like help runners be able to just bear through the heat? A lot of people are even dealing with humidity. You know, luckily we don't have that here as much, but the heat temperature rising and the humidity mix into that. What do you feel like are some good, nice, like just simple tips that like everyday runners can utilize or implement in their training to just help them to continue to get through it, I guess,
Yeah.
this season?
I wrote down some notes, so we'll just kind of talk about each of them. So the first one, hydration, but I think we'll talk more about that one, and some ideas on that. But the next one is like timing your runs wisely. Like living in Southern Utah, I have always ran before my kids woke up, before I went to work, like all of that. I know there's plenty of people who run in the afternoon, but I just think that's crazy. But it also depends on what you're training for. You know, if you're training for bad water like Ashley, like you had to do that, you know? So timing your runs, right? And I know you've been doing some of them in the afternoon where it's freaking hot, right?
Very, very rarely, not like last year. Last year I was a newbie to the St. George, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so timing your run, like not only like they have like thermal heaters, you know, they've done like tons of study on like even like white clothes make a difference versus black clothes and stuff like that. Just wearing clothes that are breathable and all of that. But also like sunglasses are so important.
Let's do training game.
You need your eyes when you're old, right? Or we need our eyes today. So protecting those, and hats are also super, you know, sun cancer, there's all sorts of bad stuff out there that when you're somebody like a runner, spend a lot of time outside. So those kind of things that we don't sometimes think about, like we naturally start dressing less, right?
I do.
I know, you like your sunglasses, so like keep those on, right? Another one is like planning your routes, which are sometimes hard there's a million reasons why that's hard. But like my run on Saturday, when I mapped it out, I was like, I need to go a little longer. So we like took a detour through this park, and it was super shady. There was no shade in Southern Utah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh wow, like remember that there was actually shade. And if you run consistently from your house to something else, I found like I totally know where everybody's sprinklers come on, and I run through the sprinklers. Like
we start at the top of 3 fingers,
you know. So just like knowing your route that has as much shade as possible. We just don't have a lot of it here. Like most of our trails don't have shade.
Or there is like a whole different
That would be
trail
ideal.
that
And
you've
other
never
places are,
really-
you know, not all of your followers are from Southern Utah, I'm sure. Like they have shade probably. So like picking a shadier route always feels better. And just staying cool like during and after the run. So that's like running through the sprinklers. Like you know, your hair's not gonna like shoot anyway, so pour the freaking water. Like, you know,
You might have water, right? Like you might as well.
Mr. Stinky Butt.
So like just use it, you know.
Among
After
Us
jumping
is
in the cold
sucks.
shower, like cool off, get your core temperature back down. Listening to your body, I know you're big on that. Don't overdo it. Not that day, give yourself grace. Especially, I think, another kind of topic, the time of the month does make a difference on how you feel. Like, know where you are in your month, and that helps you just, like, give yourself grace. Okay, yeah, I feel like crap, but I'm also the week of week, or wherever it is that falls for you. And then modifying your training run. Like, I know you do treadmill, like, I don't know, I think a lot of us in family that don't like to do treadmill because we live run year round. Like, why would we want to be on a treadmill, you know? But if your kids kept you up all night and done it,
Watch mom's phone
there's
turn
all
off.
these reasons why you have to be on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Swimming or
Don't
biking
touch
or
it.
something, just switching it up. You know, kind of my key
Motherhood
surviving
running.
but don't give up, you know. And
Yeah.
it is worth it. How you said, like your performance might be down low, but another thing physiologically that happens is it increases your like blood volume and stuff. So if you are racing for something in the fall or winter, it's actually like
Okay,
really
get it
good
set
to
up. Wipe the table
train
now.
your body. It's kind of crazy, but super awesome. You know?
Yeah, I thought about you. Let's talk about that for a second. That he is very similar kind of like approach on the body as altitude training. Is that true?
Yeah, like because your body and it's just like, you know, when you become pregnant, your blood volume increases to take care of
Wipe this
that.
table.
When you are running at high altitudes and in the heat, your body adapts to it if you keep doing it over and over again. You know, our body adapts to everything. So yeah, it really does adapt to the heat. I wonder if it does if you're just like not an athlete. I don't know about that. You know, we can study his performance related, but yeah.
Yeah, I heard the Clorox wipe had just had the many happy. They were like, it's like the cheap man's way. I was like, oh my gosh, it's out there for the daytime. It's hard. My red trek to the river, pulled back. Stopped at every spot. There was a quay or something to get in water on my body and hat. Heat training sucks, but it is a must. Way to go. Somebody else.
Yeah, trying to end where you can like jump in the river. That's awesome.
Oh God, that's right.
Wait, sounds like she did a mid run or whatever.
Allison Patrick9 said, I remember early in the morning in Texas with the Texas humidity, you guys. I was like, you Texas and Florida people, I'm just like, you guys have my heart. She says, I see morning in Texas, but the humidity is absolutely horrendous early. So yeah, again, like she just mentioned, she gave some phenomenal tips. I actually just read that study talking about the light clothes and the dark clothes. I don't know if it was by Runner's World. I can't remember who released that. But yeah, it was blew my mind because it was like 50% difference or something big, right?
Yeah.
Something black and wearing something like white or like light colored. That it makes like it absorbs the heat so much more, the darker colors.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when it's just like a simple decision in between choosing which tank top, you know, like yeah,
it's definitely made me put my black clothes in the back of my closet. And for the next couple of months when I read that video, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do myself an advantage.
yeah.
Let's see any more comments on here. And you guys feel free, anyone that's watching, if you have like any questions about any topics that come up or any like the tips that she gave you want more information on, go ahead and post that in the comments, and I'll try to filter through as much as I can to make sure we get any questions answered. But hopefully, like, we'll be able to get as many as we can in the next little bit. But yeah, so I guess another thing I wanted to talk about is the sweat analysis, because I think that is such a big topic that I don't feel like a lot of us runners know about. And after had you doing the sweat analysis on me, it just informed me how much more sodium and things like that I need to be intaking, not only just before my run or after my run, but during my run. Especially us that are training for half marathons, ultras, marathons, all those distances that tend to be a lot longer and you're out in the sun more. So yeah, kind of give us a maybe brief definition of what sweat analysis is and what the benefits are of being able to do a test like that.
Yeah, awesome. With you, we did the lactate and the sweat at the same time. So when I do lactate testing, I just ask people if they want to do sweat testing at the same time. Or you could just do sweat tests, way less painful, all the stuff. But there's perks to doing both. If you look right behind you to do that. So the big thing on hydration is, and I think it's kind of similar to lactate. You can guess your zones. There's equations out there and stuff like that. So when it comes to hydration, there is the general equation that's for the world is 4 to 8 ounces every 5 of water every 15 to 20 minutes. But if you do the math on that, that's anywhere from 12 ounces to 64 ounces in an hour. That's a huge, there's a huge, where do I fall in this? And especially when you're a runner, that means you're packing it on you somehow or dropping it somewhere along the way and stuff like that. So the biggest use of the testing is just getting rid of the questions. Of guessing what yours is, so that's a big thing. And I pretty much my year's working with athletes is so, sweat doesn't fuss me. I always say when people are sweating and they're like, oh my gosh, I sweat so much. Everybody seems to sweat the most, but I can name the top 2 sweaters in my 20 years, and they sweat a ton. Nobody else compares to them. So yeah, I'm always yeah, whatever. That's your thing. You think it is, but you add humidity into this because obviously you got some Texas people in here and stuff. That doubled another 8 ounces every hour just because of the humidity because they lose so much of it, but in the hydration test, I experimented with a few different devices to do it with. Narrowed it down to one, so now that's really doing it now, But the biggest thing is because this one tells you how much to drink, during your run, but then it tells you how much sodium and potassium. So that's water, which I feel like everybody knows that you need water. Your body tells you that, right? But then the sodium and potassium after, or if you can get it in during, that's good too. But keeping those levels up high is a big recovery. So getting them in at any point. And so the test that I give gives those 2 numbers after, and then you're being able to implement them 3 hours after your run will give you optimal recovery. So knowing exactly your numbers are awesome for those things. So electrolytes, we've heard the words electrolytes, but electrolytes actually include sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, chloride, and phosphate. So that's 6 different nutrients, but in the world we just kind of call it electrolytes. But if you look at all the different drinks, yeah. But if you look at so I don't know. Well, if I say electrolyte drink, what pops in your head? You got a brand?
Yeah, I use UCAN Hydrate.
Okay. So and then that has. I don't know. I don't have them all memorized. There's so many different ones. But you look at it and figure out if it has what level of sodium, because they're all different. That's the thing is that some of them have a lot more sodium, some of them have a ton of potassium, some of them have a lot of magnesium. And so you just need to know which one is where you lose it the most and you need it the most. You know what I mean?
Joey,
so the sweat test actually helps with that too. But then just,
AJ?
if we're just talking hydration in general, it's harder if you run early in the morning because you wake up and run. There's not because the rule is drink 16 to 20 ounces 2 hours before you run. Oh, so I have to wait. On marathon day, especially St. George, that's totally doable because you have to catch the bus 3 hours before the marathon starts. So on the actual day, that's doable. But on all of your training runs, wake up 2 hours just to drink and go back to sleep. But you can't do it, But just know, starting hydrated is a big thing. So measuring your urine, that trick,
Yeah.
Like, check it, like, so when you pee, just look in the toilet, and it should look more like lemonade than anything darker than lemonade. You know, is a good way to help you know if you're hydrated from the start. But that's just like, you know, generally always just be hydrated overall. But then when it comes to hydrating during the run, the hardest, I don't know, yeah, probably, is like packing it with you, or what are you gonna do? You know, a lot of people, like on my run on Saturday, we dropped water because I was running with my son, who's 12 and doesn't have as many pockets as I have.
Yeah.
And because he's just a little kid, you know, he doesn't have his like official running shorts or anything yet. And I knew he was gonna be faster than me, so he needs the Gatorade when he gets there or whatever. But a lot, the vests are awesome. Those are way more popular than they were back in the day, and packing this stuff in there. One trick with the vests, I should post a video on this, is the vests either have the bladders or bottles. So you fill it up halfway and stick it in your freezer, so it freezes. And then in the morning, when you're going running, then fill it up with the rest of the water, and then halfway through your run. Because in either case, those get super warm. Yeah. So it just starts with some ice, and you know, by the time you're done, it's probably not ice anymore. But that's a hack that I love learning about a while ago. Yeah. And then just, you know, like your shorts that have side pockets. I'm very big on side pockets. The vests. Some of the bras now are having places that you can pack stuff to. So a big thing is just carrying it or figuring out where to drop it. Like on our run, I dropped it where I knew that like a couple blocks later there was going to be a park or there was going to be a store or something like that we could throw away the bottle, so we didn't actually have to like carry it for too long and didn't have to go back and pick up garbage. Don't go back, go pick up your garbage. I hate that during marathon season here, our course, you can tell everybody's freaking out. But we need to be better people. Pick up your garbage. Don't just throw it on the side of the road. But let's see, the electrolyte, monitoring your urine. Oh, the other big thing that I want, because I feel like athletes get very into, I don't know, because it's easier to consume a product, item or something, you know, like all of that stuff. So still remember that we can get a lot of this from food. Like electrolytes are, especially like this time of year, watermelon is super awesome and yummy and has a ton. So have watermelon after, you know. Other big ones, of course, spinach has everything in the world that you need, you know, and nuts and the normal things. But yogurt, so you can make a smoothie out of like yogurt. Well, oranges are at the end of every race. Why? Because they also have they're high in electrolytes. Bananas, everybody knows, has potassium, right? And they have, bananas kind of have a high number of potassium compared to the people I've tested and the number that they've lost. So that's very interesting. Yeah, I don't think you have to take like 20 bananas. How sometimes when you do a test, you're like, oh great, I have to eat, you know, 2,500 cups of spinach. Great, you know, give me the supplement, right? But bananas are pretty good compared to like the potassium loss of a lot of the people I tested. So just remember you can get some stuff from food and keep it in your diet. I think that's good.
I didn't know that watermelon had all those things. Like I'm all for that. I can eat a whole watermelon myself if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I would have never considered like getting your electrolytes through your food, you know? I'm always like, oh, I gotta take all this in through my mixes and things like that. So that's a great tip.
Yeah, because that package tells you it has exactly this. The watermelon doesn't tell you how much potassium, you know, but like, yeah, it does. So, and yeah, like you said, it's delicious. You can down the whole thing. Yeah. That's awesome.
I think that's so awesome. Yeah, like I said, I feel like your sweat analysis is seriously like, it opened my eyes and made me realize like, oh my goodness, I honestly went and bought one of those handheld soft flask waters because I was one of those people that, you guys, like I would never drink anything on my run. I wouldn't stop for water. I'm like all about like, I can't stop my watch. I can't stop on my run. And I was like grit through the summer, you know, and I realized that like every year I get older and older, I'm like, my body, if it wants to stay in the sport, I gotta take care of it. So it's been a game changer. Like just, I mean, the sodium, potassium just on my runs, like in those mixes and those drinks have like, I feel like I can sustain longer and I'm not feeling so wiped after. Like the recovery process isn't as brutal as it was when I didn't do anything.
Yeah. especially when I will say you don't necessarily need to carry the water unless you're doing longer than an hour
Yeah.
run. You know, so like generally we're talking just to people running longer than an hour. So even on your training runs, if you have one in the middle of the week that's 45 minutes, like I wouldn't really worry about it. Just hydrate a lot before and highlight a lot after. But when we get like marathon season, half marathon, like all the ultras, you know, you're going far long. So then you really need to be packing all that stuff with you and figuring out how to carry it. But that's on the route too. Like try to find a place that goes by a park that has a drinking fountain and that you can fill up your water bottle if you don't want to carry the gigantic one. So it has just a couple ounces and stuff like that. Our parks drinking fountains are never cold, but they're better than nothing. You know, like there's other tricks to that. But, yeah. But then also carrying like the big thing is sodium. More people lose sodium than they do in the amount of potassium and magnesium and stuff. So that's where salt tablets come in for reals. Like especially, Ironman. I work a lot with Ironman athletes, and those are very easy to pop or chew. They have all sorts of different kinds. So and carry, you know, those will fit in anything.
Do you have like a special like brand that you recommend, or is it just like any generic brand would work? What's your thoughts?
That's where like I personally want to know exactly my levels, so I don't have to pop like one that has
too much.
Like, I don't want to have to carry 12 pills, which I'm exaggerating, but like to get my levels, I'd rather buy this one that has more, and then I just carry that one. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I say it kind of depends on that. I did reach out to St. George Running Center. Maybe we'll kind of tag them in this.
Yeah.
To do some posts on their supplements that they sell and see are the best, and they'll like, you know, break it down to like the levels and stuff. But I think knowing your own numbers helps you figure out which product is going to be best for you. But you can experiment too, and you know, because then there is the aspect of what your body can handle, whichever end it comes out in the mid-run is not fun. So experimenting with all the different brands and stuff before race day is a good idea too.
With it in your training.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I hope this information, I've learned a ton. There's some things I never even thought about implementing, like the food part of it. But I hope that, you know, it's helping you guys to like get some ideas, and maybe you'll be able to like put a post together, and I can reshare that, just recapping over the point we talked about. And I can reshare that on here just for those that are like me, that like it goes in your head and then you leave the rest of the day and you're like, wait, what did she say again about this? But yeah, great points, you guys. And you want to kind of just explain like what services you offer too, and like.
Okay, yeah. So one thing on that, if you get on I send out a Tuesday tip every Tuesday. So that's an email with my blog post on whatever. So this last week it was on hydration, and this Tuesday will be more on electrolytes. So
I have not seen a single one.
we really didn't plan it that much, so it's really cool that this timed out. So if you get on my list, then I'll email it to you every week. So that's super easy. But then also just follow me on social. I try to post the highlights on it. But the nit and gritty, like my exercise videos and stuff like that, are like in the blog post. But so as far as the testing goes, I do running assessments, and I do those virtually as well. So you video yourself running, and then I analyze it. People do that for an injury, because you've been to the physical therapist, been to the chiropractor, been to the sports med doc, and none of them have actually even seen you run or have time to do that kind of stuff. So I break down the run and be like, you have shin splints, you have patellar tendonitis, you have whatever, because you're doing this with your gait. So let's kind of help you try to modify that. So those are my running assessments, and then we do lactate testing and hydration testing. So we talked pretty much a lot about that. Other thing I'm super big on is the feet strength, and your feet, like, it takes so much of the pounding, so much of, and everything starts from the ground up when we're running in any movement. So I have a Happy Feet challenge that's all online too, just to strengthen every little part of your feet. And that's another one that like most runners like. In my running assessments, that's what I start with, is just, can you move your toes? And people are like, oh my gosh, I've never even tried to move my toes.
Right.
You know, like, oh my gosh, why is this so hard, kind of stuff. So I'm really big on like the foot strength. I have a 12-week strength program, because that's another thing that runners are missing a lot. So that 12-week program should go with like a lot of training plans for 12 weeks, or 14 or 16, right? At least 12 weeks. So it just fits in with that twice a week for like 20 minutes, and it does do 5 minutes of, it rotates, whether it's mobility, plyometrics, or footwork. So that just kind of incorporates everything into your running. So that's super awesome. That's also all online. And then mobility, when I very first like jumped ship from my corporate world, that was the first thing my athletes were like, I really miss your mobility stuff. So I mean, it's like 14-day mobility. So some people do it when they're tapering. Their last 2 weeks they taper, then they just do the mobility every week, every day for 5 minutes, you know. It's just easy. It's just the stuff that runners don't do, but it's outlined. Like you can watch Instagram and you can see people doing different things, like even like me, like you know, but like putting it together in a program is what it is, you know. And then I have a Get Running program for newbies, like just to help them learn how to run, because before you start any serious training, let's say, you need to be able to run for like 30 minutes straight. And to somebody who's new, 30 minutes, like you can run for 30 minutes, you know? And that does take time to get into that. So then that's the one I have online like the most. This is coming out soon, so a new thing, but I'm helping with Snow Canyon Path, which is in like 16 months. I'm already writing like the training plan for all of the athletes running that. If they want to follow it, they can follow it and try to get like group runs going together and stuff with that. So that should be fun too. But, yeah. It's kind of
you guys, after this video, honestly, go check out her page. She constantly is posting new tips, new ideas, things to help with injury prevention. That's helped me a ton. Yeah, you're a wealth of information. I feel so lucky to have you on here. I was like, we've been trying to plan this for a little while, and so I'm glad that we got to make this work with our schedule. I just wanted to see, does anybody have any questions, wants to ask anything, or I'm trying to see if there's any that popped up yet. But I feel like I am on this live, so I'm super excited to take this into my day-to-day. Let's see. Anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? Or I don't think we got a quiet audience today. Maybe you answered it all. Maybe that's why.
Oh yeah, that's because I just spit too much and just kept talking.
I've learned a ton. Oh, we got a person. Emma, clean cooking. Texas humidity is the worst, even in the morning. So hard. I really do. Whenever I complain about our triple digits, I'm like, at least we don't have humidity. Like, yeah, that's worse.
Yeah, just drenching water on top of you, keeping your clothes a different, not just sweaty, but like down.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. I don't think. Let's see. I'm a bit younger. DX Ice. I'm a bit younger, and I'm curious to know if my body changing has to do with my running changing and feeling like I'm not improving. How do I move past that?
So I wonder what she means by a bit younger, because you know I work with kids as young as first grade. So does she mean I don't know if she wants to reply back, but is she like going through puberty kind of stuff? Because we could talk about that. Is that?
I'm assuming that's probably what it's talking about, like puberty changes, things like that.
Yeah, they definitely need to, especially if you were like a fast kid before puberty and then you hit puberty, you will probably not be as fast for a couple of years. So just know that, and that's really hard on the kid and the parents who also found love in their kids succeeding in this. But the women going through puberty and that's also not as much true with boys, but girls. It was a girl, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our body does so much changing happening then. But yeah, you probably won't be faster until you're all the way through it a little bit. So just give yourself grace and hang in there. Like really don't let it stop your love for the sport. You know,
I think a lot of us runners that do start at a young age like that, we all go through it at some point in time. I mean, I feel like a majority of us are affected by. I was, at least, you know, I didn't get my period until 16, 17. I was a late bloomer.
Oh wow!
But
yeah.
I ran at the age of 5, and so my body was kind of behind on all that. But I definitely felt the change in it. It can be a little discouraging, you know, but I mean, a good healthy cycle is a good thing, and so that's what I always would focus on. That if you're having a regular cycle, that's good. It's better to have a regular cycle than no cycle, and that it will improve, and it does once your body gets the hang of it and you're able to adjust to all that. And I feel like that's a topic that's like not talked about enough for
Oh,
female
yeah.
runners.
Yeah, and I'm super, especially like me, working with a lot with ball sports and runners and just kids, because there's not as many female coaches as there are men coaches, right?
Yep.
So, and I'm not like a high school coach, so I'm a super neutral or whatever. I'm not taking away their game time. I'm not doing anything like that, and I am always talking to my girls about it, and they do love it because, like, I sure as heck wouldn't want my high school coach to be asking me if I was on my period, and I don't think that's the role of a male in a girl's life ever.
Yeah.
But I can, and the girls need to know that. So like to that girl that's saying that, I would honestly like, there's a million apps and stuff now that are awesome, but like journal it in some way as to like when you're not feeling at your peak versus like your periods aren't going to be normal for a while too, so then just charting like, oh, today was whatever, and then just noticing like how much until you're if you started it that day or whatever. One of my Velocity girls the other day. So Velocity is my kid group that I coach, and they're from, so I've done it with your daughter. They're from 1st to 8th grade girls, or boys, whatever, kids. And one of them came up to me at the end of practice the other day and was just like, I'm on my period. And I just loved that she would like talk to me about it, like, just give yourself grace today, girl. Like, how far into this are you? And and that she had started her period like last year, so she's still a year into it and it's still hard. Like, yeah, it just is what it is, but I don't ever want it to slow us women down. It doesn't need to, but we do need to give ourselves grace for when it's happening, when our body there's a lot going on in our body at that time, So that would be like my biggest thing is knowing, and it really helps me know, like when I like feel like crap, I look at my app, I'm like, oh, I'm going to start next week, so that's why I feel like crap, it's fine.
Yes.
Like, instead of just like, why does this suck, I don't know.
All right. And we also had somebody said, sorry, missed recommended salty pre-run foods. So would you recommend salty foods pre-run, or do you feel like it's more just like the hydration approach?
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily try to like preload that as during. That's when they take salt tablets or any, like a lot of the, well, not a lot, but whatever your goo is or whatever you take during it. I mean, like stations also have Ironmans and stuff also have potato chips. You get more salty than that, that kind of stuff like during the run. I wouldn't try to preload sodium necessarily.
Okay.
Hydration matters like more. The sodium you're gonna
Five
be
is
burning
10,
it.
four
You're
is
sweating it
7.
out, especially in Texas, man.
Yeah. All right. Somebody said, Gorilla Protein Life 2 said, getting through gut issues in long races. Mine starts between 40 to 50 miles, I guess. How to not have it happen, or at least not so soon.
So she's doing ultras, which is a whole kind of another.
It's a he, and yeah, he says he's doing like ultras, I'm assuming, and probably just figuring out like how to not have gut issues so early on in the race.
Yeah,
That's hydration, you think, or?
Yeah, that is the biggest thing with like anybody who's trying to get into ultras. That's the biggest thing is understanding the gut. Like that's the most important thing. But just, I mean, it sounds like what he's doing, experimenting with the different options every time. But that is so hard. It's so hard. Ultras are so hard. But there's now there's a lot of different products out there, but real food is always good too. Like if he, normally eats bananas, pack bananas, or, but at that level, you probably need more than you can pack in food, especially on training runs that don't have aid stations and stuff like that. That is a big part of training for the ultras is figuring out what your gut can handle. Yeah. And even it's even as defined as the flavor of, like you like this certain brand and then you got a different flavor. I've done that. I don't know if I should dive into this story, but I've definitely done that on a long run. I liked this brand, and my running friend had that brand but a different flavor, and I popped it, whatever, and then 10 miles later or something, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to the bathroom. And there was actually a bathroom, so I went to the bathroom and my poop was red. This is too much information. And I was like, dude, that doesn't happen unless you're dying, right?
Yeah.
So I'm dying, come out of the bathroom and like, girls, I'm dying. Like my poop is bright red, blah, blah, blah. So what do? You keep running. And like a couple miles later, there's not a bathroom, so now I'm like in somebody's yard or whatever. I don't know. But, and and then it was like, that was also a bad experience. And then a little bit later, one of my friends was like, dude, I gave you the raspberry or whatever. And I was like, oh, because I didn't feel good, but I didn't feel like I was like dying. Like I think I should have if I was really, pooping out blood. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it was. So it's the same brand that I had liked, but just a different flavor. Did not like me very well,
The same
But
one.
it's so you can like their gels, their edge gels. I can't take the strawberry banana one. I don't know what it is, but I can cringe in the pineapple. But the strawberry banana one, every time I'm just like, my stomach, I don't have bathroom issues, but it's upset. So that's it. I wonder why that is.
yeah, but that's why that's why you train.
Practice.
Not only like to get the miles in, the time on the feet, but also experiment with the nutrition side of it. It is best to, like, especially if you're running is something, I mean, ultras usually have a lot of everything,
Yeah.
but marathons are usually like, this is what we have, this is what we have. The St. George Marathon is lemon lime Gatorade. So a lot of people train on lemon lime Gatorade because that's what they're going to have, elite athletes can pack their own stuff. So there's that level, but not all of us are there where that happens. So then if you're not going to train, if your stomach can't handle what your race is offering, you got to figure out how to pack it on you, and what your body can handle. Yeah. It's a good question. Ultras are so hard for that. It's amazing.
All right. Well, I think we got all the questions. Again, I'm grateful. I'm glad we got to get this done and get all this information out there because I know there is a ton, especially a lot of new runners on my feed. That's hard, I even feel like that, like being a lifelong runner, but a mid-distance runner, not in a long endurance runner. When I did my first half marathon, I had no idea you're supposed to take gels and all this stuff, and I'm like taking down goos. I'm like, what is this? I can't even swallow this stuff.
Yes.
I was struggling. It's a lot. There's a lot of information out there, so we're lucky to have you that is knowledgeable in this department and is able to give some tips that we can just all start with and try out. But I definitely think it's trial and error, right?
Yeah.
You have to.
I mean, a big thing that you just said is if you're jumping from high school, college, 5Ks ish. This is different. This is, you have to start, if you're doing runs longer than an hour, you need to fuel your body differently than you did when they were short and fast, for sure. So, yeah, and you don't necessarily know that when you first dive into it, like you're saying. You didn't know it, yeah.
Especially when you ended your running career at high school and you're like already immature in those years, and now you're an adult and you're like, wait, I can't just hop out of bed and just run, Doesn't work like that. Thank you so much for coming. And yeah, as soon as you post your hydrate or the electrolyte one, I'm gonna make that for all you guys. And I mean we're in contact, so I'll just make sure to pass it in. But I hope this was helpful for everybody that's watching. I'm so grateful. There's a ton of you on today. That was really fun to have you all here, and hopefully you're able to take this information into your new week and be able to bear through the summer heat. So awesome. Is there anything else?
Thank you for letting me be here.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we hope you have a good rest of your Sunday.
See ya.
Bye.
Let's see, so I got these, I got those.
Yes.
Those I'm using, these I'm using, so I'll take blue, I guess. And I guess I'll take the blue as well.
Don't be.
Jojo. So now,
Hello, guys.
we got enough to do.
Hopefully you guys can all hear me okay.